It is Wednesday, December 10th, 2014, and welcome to the Alien Invasion number 127, a presentation of GalacticNetcasts.com. Joining me tonight is Brad Ludwig and the third wheel. No, she's not a third wheel.
No, she's not a third wheel.
The third leg in the Alien Invasion tripod is not here tonight. Anessa Moyne's not feeling very well. How's she doing?
She's doing okay. She's had a headache for like the past 3 days, and it's been kind of brutal. So, yeah, she's having a hard time braining and holding thoughts and stuff like that. So she needed to bow out and take a rest and get back up and running again.
I guess the show's in our capable hands, Brad.
God help us. God help us all.
And I don't think that we'll have any problem coming up with words or remembering things or finishing sentences, right? We'll be fine in those departments, right?
What?
Okay. Question answered, right there.
Right there. We're off and running.
All right. So this is the show where we talk about extraterrestrials, ET, aliens, because it's the title of the show, Alien Invasion, and we're not talking about like the kind of illegal aliens that go across borders, because
no.
There are some people in the world that want to talk about that or want to hear people talk about that. That's not us. We're talking about the space alien kinds, like from the big bug-eyed ones from the 60s to like the grays, you know, abducting you in your sleep, that kind of thing, or what's some other famous aliens?
Wow. The
Oh,
Roswell aliens?
the Roswell aliens, or we can, you know, talk about the aliens in fiction. Like Star Wars is hot right now. Chewbacca. Could talk about Chewbacca.
Yeah.
An actual like the E.T. from the movie E.T. It's another fictitious alien. So we cover the gamut. If they're shown in film, TV, video games, comic books, science, and real life, we talk about it here on the Alien Invasion. And the show is divided into 3 sections: the news, the craft corner, that's the spotlight of a certain kind of alien spacecraft, and our picks for the week. The show might be a little bit shorter with Anessa not here this evening, because we've got one less story and we've got one less pick. So I guess you and I will have to pick up the slack and talk more. Individual things, right?
God help us all. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So let's start. Without further ado, oh, they changed the layout of soundboard.com. It looks weird. Okay. Well, without further ado, let's start it with the news.
In the news.
It's kind of nice because the old layout, if you hovered near the top thing, because the soundboard is like vertical with item, 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 item. If you like hovered your mouse around the top item, a little pop-up thing would come out. And sometimes I'd click that and go to a different website. So they changed that, which I'm really, really glad about.
Well, that's good. That's very good.
All right. Alien Invasion news for the week. Bradley, you're up first. What do you got?
So the Guardians of the Galaxy DVD was released yesterday. The digital version was available, I believe, last week or the week before. But the actual physical copies are out now.
Yeah, the copy was released a couple weeks ago because Google Play had it for free.
Yes. So, which is very interesting. They've had a great, and by they I mean the Guardians of the Galaxy and Marvel and Disney have had a interesting relationship with Google Play. They offered the soundtrack for free for a little bit, and they've kind of got the jump on getting the movie out too, so that's pretty darn cool. But the thing about the physical copy of the movie, the DVDs that have been released, they put together a blooper reel, which is pretty standard for a lot of movies and especially Marvel films. But the thing that they did, and I kind of noted that they took something out of the Pixar playbook. They had bloopers too, but all of these characters are animated in a Pixar film, and as we know, Groot and Rocket Raccoon were both CG characters in the film. So when they did the blooper reel, they made sure that they included Groot and Rocket Raccoon. And
Now,
I thought, yes.
can I make a sidebar real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that the guy that did the motion cap for Rocket was the producer's James Gunn's brother?
Yes.
Who was the motion cap guy in the suit?
Yes.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
So they spent the time, and that's kind of been the beauty of this whole thing. Guardians of the Galaxy has kind of been the little touches, and I would say Marvel as a whole. They've always gone the extra mile. For the majority of the Marvel films, they filmed a small, kind of a sidebar short film for each of the DVD releases. One of my favorite ones was on, what was it? I think it was on, I want to say it was on the Captain America DVD, where they had a funny thing happen on the way to Thor's hammer.
Yeah, they're the one shot. They call them
yes.
the one shot.
Yeah, the one shots. And if you haven't seen that short film, you really need to. A funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer, and that's where we get a good taste of what Phil Coulson can do. And by that, I mean not just be a mild-mannered, smart agent, but kind of a badass.
Was that the first time we met Phil Coulson?
No. We met Phil Coulson actually in the first Iron Man film.
Oh, okay, that's right.
He kept trying to have the meeting with Pepper, and then at the end, he came up with the cover story that Tony Stark was supposed to use and decided not to. I guess the point I'm trying to make is Marvel has been trying to do these extra pieces to really give the fans a little bit more and give you a reason to buy the physical copy of the movie. And this is no different. They took the time to, do the CGI for Rocket and Groot to do these, and they're goofs. They're not like they kind of half-rendered something and it ended up on the cutting room floor. It's an actual blooper. And you get to see Rocket attempt to get into one of the ships and having a hard time with that. And there's a couple other things. I don't want to give anything else away, but some of the other, and I got this this story off of the Mary Sue, and I actually watched the clip that they had available on YouTube. One of the other, some of the other bits that you get to see are Glenn Close flubbing her line and then kind of falling and kind of lying prone on the table for a brief second, and she like kicks her legs out in the air, and Chris Pratt in between takes or goofing up a shot flying a ship, and Lee Pace, who plays Ronan the Accuser, Ronan the Accuser, is working on a bit of what I would call hand choreography with his hammer, and they are doing a shot kind of down from the ground and up to his face, and you see him taking his hammer and he's speaking in his normal voice, which he had a more gruff voice that he used as the Ronin character, and to hear him use that normal voice when he's in his blue skin and his whole getup, and the hammer is kind of in your face in the camera, and he's trying to work out how he's supposed to spin the hammer in this particular shot. It's weird. It's creepy.
He's such a good actor too. I really love pretty much everything he's in, because he isn't part of the Hobbit trilogy.
I believe so. I know him mostly from Pushing Daisies.
Yeah, I didn't know him at all before *Halt and Catch Fire*, that HBO show about a tech company, Texas, back in the '80s. They wrapped up season 1. They're gonna have season 2 next year, I believe. And that's how I know him. But then I saw him on Guardians, and then I kept on hearing more things about him. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's all over the place.
Yeah, he plays one of the elves in the Hobbit films. Gosh, what else? Yeah, Pushing Daisies. He's been in The Good Shepherd. Wonder Falls was something that that was a 13 episode. I want to say Wonder Falls was the. Oh no, it wasn't. I thought it was the werewolf one. I'm confusing that with
He's a
another
very
film.
he's a very versatile actor.
Yeah, he is. Looking at a picture of Lee Pace without makeup on or anything like that, and then seeing some of the roles that he's been in, he kind of physically assumes that character. You seem to lose sense of him being Lee Pace and him taking on the role of this character. He's just one of those really good actors, and his portrayal of Ronan is creepy, and he gives it the weight and the gravitas it needed to have. So just excellent casting for that character. But
yeah,
I haven't bought the DVD yet. Actually, I'm probably going to pick that up on Friday, in 2 days hence, and I will soak in all of the extras from the film on the Blu-ray.
Is that going to be pick number 2, like second time around pick for the Alien Invasion?
No, I don't think I'm going to do that. Like, I think I'm going to not. Yeah, that seems like cheating. So I won't do that.
Staying on the subject of Guardians for a second, did you happen to see? This was posted online this week. The honest trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy. Did you see that?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh,
it's on my list of things to do.
Pretty much, they're like they talk about how it's basically Space Avengers, because each character is very similar to a character in the Avengers. It's pretty funny. I'd never seen any of those honest trailers before. That was my first one I've seen, and it was very, very good.
Yeah, honest trailers are hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
But they were upfront about it. They're like, honestly, this movie was awesome, and we had a hard time finding things.
Yeah. It is a great film, and if you haven't seen it, get out from under that rock you've been living under and go out and check it out. I'm sure it's in Redbox, or it's available somehow, some way, and you really need to see that film.
My wife was supposed to go with me when it came out in the summer, but I ended up going with somebody else. She had to work with that, so we're definitely going to sit down and watch that very, very soon. There
you go. See, now I feel bad because I just basically said that your wife lives under a rock.
No,
I've become that guy. Nobody likes that guy.
No, you're fine. She's just a very busy person. It takes a lot for us to get around to do something. We're very much couch sitters, just watching TV and not accomplishing that much. It takes a lot for us to get motivated to do things. So we'll get around to it eventually. We'll watch it. I'm sure she'll like it. I'm trying to get her slowly into more comic book stuff. Like, she loves The Flash, she loves Gotham, and she's watched a few episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
So I'm really trying to break her into comic book movies now. That's my next step. That's phase 2. Marvel may be going into phase 3. I'm still in phase 2. All right. Is that all you got for the story? You wanna?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Cool. Thank you, Brad. Moving on to the second story in the news, Independence Day producer finally explains that infamously inept hacking scene. I think we all know what we're talking about here in Independence Day, the 1996 movie? 96?
Yeah, 96 or 97.
I think it's 96 because they're going to release the sequel in 2006 on the 20th anniversary. 20th?
Yeah, it was 96. Yep, summer. It was July. Yeah, I saw. That's right. I saw it July 4th, 1996.
Okay, so now that they have it's definitive, they're actually going to go to production on the sequel. Writer and producer Dean Devlin wants to clear up some confusion about the film's goofy computer virus scene. That's the one thing that anybody everybody always makes fun of this movie for is that stupid. Let's introduce a virus to the alien spaceship and totally mess their systems up. So if you're not familiar, Jeff Goldblum's character, David Levinson, thwarts an entire alien invasion by sending a virus from his Mac PowerBook to infect the spaceships. And during a Reddit AMA on Sunday, Devlin was asked how a human computer virus was able to infect the aliens' computers. His answer was the following. Okay, what Jeff Goldblum's character discovered was that the programming structure of the alien ship was a binary code, and as many beginning programmers can tell you, binary code is a series of ones and zeros. What Goldblum's character did was turn the ones into zeros and the zeros into one, effectively reversing the code that was sent. That's still not a very good answer. Like, it seems like a cop-out.
Yeah, it really kind of does. But I also, by the same token, it's 2014. Stop asking that stupid question. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's a film. Is it an important plot point? Maybe. But that movie wasn't meant to be. That movie wasn't meant to be Citizen Kane, so stop trying to make it Citizen Kane, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's a fun popcorn summer movie.
That was its sole intention, and they succeeded.
Yeah.
They made so much money, it's obscene with that film.
Yeah, I think with any science fiction, you have to suspend disbelief. You have to kind of go like, okay. Well, basically, I said it right the first time. Suspend disbelief. I'm trying to put it in different words, but when it really doesn't need different words. Just don't pay attention to the details, the technical details. Don't pay attention to those. Whatever gets the job done, it worked, right? So forget about it. Move on.
At the end of the day, that's not the important thing there.
Yeah, exactly. So his answer did not answer these questions. How did Goldblum's 1995 laptop with its 8-megabyte hard drive have enough memory to transmit a virus to an entire fleet of spaceships? That's question number one that Dean Devlin did not answer.
Well, in the context of the film, they infected one, and because they all communicated with each other, with the mothership, with the base ship, that was going to be spread by infecting one. So that question in and of itself is stupid.
Okay. No, that makes sense. It's kind of like how they used to do it on episodes of Star Trek whenever the Borg was involved.
Yeah.
You know, they spread it because they were all connected in the hive mind. So you infect one, and everybody else is infected. So it's kind of the same concept. I get it. Okay, so, since this was years before high-speed Wi-Fi, how did he connect his computer to the alien ships in the first place? Do you remember how he did it? Did he actually hardwire it in?
Yeah, I thought that they had connected to the ship, and the ship is what had the communication. Again, stupid question. Next.
Okay. All right. We're whipping through these. All right. And wouldn't the aliens have some kind of firewall? I'm getting something like that from us. Maybe they thought they were so invincible that it's like, going back to the Borg again. Best of Both Worlds Part 2. They want to shut down the Borg ship. They're about to ram. The Enterprise D is about to ram the Borg cube that's orbiting Earth. Wesley is at the he's at the navigation place on the bridge, and number one, Riker's about, or he was captain, I guess. Captain Riker was about to give the order to hit warp and ram the ship. But then they realize that they can stop the Borg by giving them a command to go to sleep, to regenerate. And this is pretty much the same thing. Like, they didn't realize that a primitive human race like the humans could basically infect them. They didn't think of it because it's such a small thing, right? Kind of.
Well, the other thing too is if they're connected to the ship, and look at it this way. If you are a race that goes around destroying weaker races and stealing all of their minerals and things like that, if there's a level of hubris that's involved there, there's a level of ego that's involved there. Is it outside of the realm of possibility that they would have an IT crew that would be constantly checking a firewall for a stupid... No, they wouldn't. If they managed to get... They probably assumed that their ship would never be captured, and if it was, they probably didn't have something in place for a hardwired computer into their system. And again, transmitting stuff into... There's a level of hubris that I'm willing to accept there, that they would not have that in place. So again, I think that's a very, very dumb question.
And you touched on it briefly real quick. You said that they weren't expecting something from the inside of the ship.
No, absolutely not.
They were inside of the ship, so why would they need a firewall for inside of the ship? If you're
exactly.
If you have a computer at home and you're not connecting it to the internet, it's just a computer that you're, I don't know, doing something.
So let's say you have LAN parties in your house for some odd reason, and you set up a number of computers in a closed network in your house. You're not going to connect it to the internet. Why would you put a firewall in? That's silly.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Now, that said, there's not a whole lot of games that you would play anyway. I've just dated myself. It's like we've gone back to the early 2000s. But again, at that time when this movie was done, having a closed LAN system, and in fact, our head of IT for Midwest Communications. I'm sorry, did I skip?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Our head of IT at that time would buy multiple copies of a game, and he had a closed system to game on. And we played, like one of the first versions of Call of Duty. We played Quake. We played, all sorts of games in his closed LAN network for gaming. So it's not, especially at that time, that's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Apparently,
LAN gaming and creating small networks like that were a thing.
So apparently there is a deleted scene that made that scene make more sense. I don't remember ever seeing it, but that's what this article said. He also, in the AMA, he also admitted he's had to do a lot of rewriting because of Will Smith not being in the film. This is really interesting to get some background information on this, because we've been speculating for like 2 years now about the Independence Day sequel, whether Will Smith will be involved or not, who are they going to cast instead, how's the story going to be different, will Goldblum be there, which it sounds like he will be. So it turns out he's had to do a lot of rewriting, and some new writers were brought in who adapted his script and evolved it. But you will be excited to know there are some favorites from the film returning. So I'm guessing the favorites will be Jeff Goldblum and Bill Pullman. I'm guessing, probably.
Yep.
Yeah. Who else would? They wouldn't get Randy Quaid. He's stuck in Canada someplace, right?
Adam Baldwin, I bet you would come back.
I forgot he was in that. Yeah.
Gosh, who else?
Too bad they killed Brent Spiner.
Well, I bet you the kids, Randy Quaid's kids might come back for it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Good point. All good points. All right. So interesting stuff from Dean Devlin's AMA. We'll put the link to this article in the show notes, and I'm sure that the article actually has a link. I didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure it's there, a link to the whole AMA on Reddit. Reddit? That's the new move over Reddit. Anyways, link will be in the show notes to read more about that article. All right, let's move on to the next segment, which is this.
Please identify the craft you witnessed.
A black, triangular, three-dimensional shape, huge, just flying, hovering in it.
Shaped like almost like between an egg and like a teardrop.
2
long cylinder object flying over me.
We had a dome. I could see the occupants in it.
Appeared to be rotating, and it was circular in disc shape, and it hovered for maybe about 5 minutes.
All right, it's time for Craft Corner, a spotlight of a certain kind of alien spacecraft. In history, or present, or in fictitious land, which is where we're going tonight, because the Craft Corner craft that I picked is Galacticus's ship. Galacticus from the Marvel Universe. His ship that he rides around in, Galactus. And you might have to help me out with this a little bit, Brad. I know that it's not your week to prep the show. This is not your Craft Corner pick. But I was watching what was going to be my pick, which was a Marvel animated show on Netflix. Avengers Assemble, I think.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. And they actually, speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, they were involved in this episode. And
Nice.
so was Galactus. I highly recommend it. They do a really good job with the both DC and Marvel have some great stuff on Netflix. But anyways, back to the original point. Galactus, his ship from the Marvel Universe, the cosmic universe of Marvel. So Galactus's ship, that's hard to say. It sounds funny. Galacticus's.
Galactus?
Yes. The ship that Galactus rides around in is so technically advanced that even Reed Richards admitted that he could not fully fathom and comprehend it.
Let me pause for a second.
Okay.
There is an issue, and I can't remember. Hang on, let me find it. Galactus's origin was. Come on.
And Galactus,
Of course,
he's the guy that goes around and he's a planet killer. He eats planets. That's some background information on Galactus.
yeah, he was a member of a race that, from a planet called Ta, T-A-A.
Aww.
And they're a race of beings that are incredibly old, so old that Galactus was in this ship with, it was at least one other astronaut. And this is at the point in time when the scientific community thought like the Big Bang would end with the Big Crunch, and we were in a state of contraction and explosion. And so his race was, he was around at the time where the universe was dying and collapsing. And he was in the ship, and he was there at the point where the collapse and the Big Bang happened. And he survived, but he was imbued with an energy where he needed to consume a lot of energy to live. And that's how come he is Galactus, the World Eater. It's his job to, it's not necessarily his job, but he's technically become like almost a force of nature, where he travels the galaxy, the universe, and finds planets to eat and consume their energy. So.
Now, he's not going to be in that last Avengers film, right? That's going to be Thanos.
No. Galactus is a Fantastic Four villain.
Oh.
So okay. You are not going to go, and that's why in the second Fantastic Four film with Silver Surfer, Galactus appears in that. He's, spoiler alert, he comes to just consume the Earth. So yeah, he is very much a Fantastic Four property. So that's a 20th Century Fox's thing now. So, yeah.
All right, that makes sense. The whole Reed Richards thing, that makes a lot more sense now knowing that. Okay. So it is essentially his home. It's built of massive proportions, like you mentioned. It took Galactus a millennia to construct. We're talking 1,000 years, people. 1,000 years to construct one ship. And it was the first planet Galactus. Oh, okay, got it. He took the energy, the minerals from the first planet that he ever destroyed, and he built his ship out of that. Oh yeah, you mentioned that his planet is Ta.
Yep.
Well, here it is. In honor of his original world, he named it Ta. It's also known as the World Ship. Galactus is capable of calling it to. Wait a second. Calling it to him from any location in the universe. So he could be someplace else, way, 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 way far away, and he uses what, probably mental capacities, and he calls the ship to him.
Yes.
But he won't be alone when he calls his big ship, because he's got his small ship. Galactus uses a smaller spherical ship to travel the cosmos to consume planets. It's used to reserve his energy. Despite being smaller than Ta, it is still massive. The ship contains Punishers for its defense. I like that. Punishers. Now, correct me if I get any of this stuff wrong. I just got this off of a Marvel wiki. Punishers for the defense should Galactus not have the strength to defend himself, or computers and regeneration chambers. Throughout the ship are devices seemingly at Galactus's will to control. He sometimes uses long tendrils located in the ship to help him convert a planet's energy when he consumes it. The ship was once destroyed when Morg used the ultimate nullifier against Tyrant. Do you know those characters?
Morg, I believe, was a Sentinel, not a Sentinel. Hang on.
Great name. Another famous Morg in science fiction is Morg from
how is that?
Space Nine.
How is that spelled? Because I'm
M-O-R-G.
M-O-R-G. Okay. There's an M-O-O-R-G, which is a horror-based character. Sorry. He's another Marvel character, but he's a horror. There we go.
Okay.
I believe he's... Okay.
Remember all this stuff?
Sort of. See, Morg was around in the... Yeah, he was around in the early 90s, and I didn't really follow Silver Surfer or Fantastic Four at that point. No, he was a herald. So what happens is Galactus employs heralds, and typically they are people from worlds that he is about to consume. He will allow, if he needs a herald, he'll say, I'm going to eat your planet, but I will grant you something if you become my herald. And a herald's job is to scout out other planets for Galactus to eat next.
Okay. So,
yeah, Morg was a dude with a battle axe, and he was just kind of an interesting. Oh, Terrax is the one that I was thinking of. He was another herald, but he was like really evil and crazy.
Okay.
Anyways.
So you don't know who the Ultimate Nullifier is?
The Ultimate Nullifier is actually an artifact, and this artifact is something that if you have the Ultimate Nullifier and you use it, you can destroy something utterly and completely. The problem is the person that uses the Ultimate Nullifier gets destroyed as well.
Oh, it doesn't seem very effective or convenient.
It's kind of one of those, well, it's one of those things that it's like if you as a writer were going to create something that could possibly destroy a force of nature that is huge, is eons old, and can consume planets, you really can't have a magic, like, little pop gun or something that can take him out. You need to have something that is an equally high stakes kind of, if you use it, there's going to be serious consequences, and that's what the Ultimate Nullifier was kind of about.
And I guess if you get to a point where you have to kill somebody like Galactus, you need something with that kind of power.
Yeah.
There's got to be sacrifices. Sacrifices must be made, and it sounds like the ultimate Nullifier does that.
Yes.
Okay, one last thing about the ship that Galactus travels in. It was once destroyed in a battle with the Hunger. Do you know who the Hunger is?
No.
Okay. Well, you know what? There's links on this document. I bet you if we
You know,
click the link. I'm clicking.
Yep, I am too. Oh. Oh, God. Okay. So, the Hunger appears in 13 issues. Yeah, again, he's a Thanos. Yeah, he's more of a... Well, he's more of an Avengers villain, it looks like. See, that's the interesting thing about how these properties were divided up between, like Fox has the mutants, essentially. The mutants and Fantastic Four.
Sony has Spider-Man.
Yep, and characters more associated with Spider-Man. And Marvel Studios obviously has all the rest. And the case, and I think we've talked about this before, like we're going to see Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who also appeared in the X-Men. The thing about them is they're mutants, but they've also been very active Avengers, which is why they're sort of a grayish character. And looking at the Hunger and how often he was used, he is more of a Thanos Avengers kind of a character. So I have a feeling that if we were to see him, and I doubt it because this thing is a entity from another dimension that feasts on entire realities, that's a huge scope. I don't think we're going to see that in a film. Yeah. But that would be more of a Avengers type villain.
All right. Well, I think we learned a lot tonight. Or today, whenever you're listening to this podcast. We learned quite a bit about Galactus, his ship, and other peripherals, other people and things in the Marvel Universe. That was very enlightening.
There was a lot going on there. Absolutely.
Yeah. You were talking about Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch and those characters that kind of ride the line between, what Marvel has or what Sony has or what Fox has. And mutants are normally Fox, right?
Yes.
How about the what are they called? Not subhumans. What are they called?
Oh, the Inhumans.
The Inhumans. They're not considered mutants, right? Because they were created by an alien race, more or less.
Yeah, they are created by the Kree, which is an alien race that we've been seeing in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and that we've been seeing in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Ronan the Accuser was a Kree alien. So
this new character that they revealed this week on one of the comic book shows in the Marvel Universe. I'm trying to a spoiler. Would this certain character be a Inhuman or a mutant? The one that you know that I'm talking about. Wink, wink.
In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes, yeah.
I have not seen the episode yet.
Oh, you haven't? Okay. Shh, never mind.
But I have read enough spoilers that it is not a mutant. And I can tell you with the utmost certainty, you will never hear the words mutant uttered in an MCU film.
Okay. All right.
Until Marvel Studios gets the X-Men characters, the mutant characters from Fox, you will never hear the word mutant, because as soon as they use the word mutant in a film, they will be sued.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, we learned something.
They're not screwing around with that property.
Let's move on to our picks. These are things that we watched, listened to, read, or whatever, took into our senses this week, and we like to talk about them. And since Anessa is not here, there's usually a buffer between when somebody talks and the next time you talk. So I put Anessa as kind of the filler between me and me. Do you want to be the filler between me and me, Brad?
Absolutely, I will.
Okay. What do you got?
So, looking at... Normally, I seem to gravitate towards 50s and 60s sci-fi movies, films of that era. I decided that I was going to get a little bit more current, and I decided to watch Battle Beyond the Stars, the 1980 Roger Corman flick.
Okay, hey Brad, can you back up? I totally lost you there for about 15 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here.
It's okay. We'll just move on.
Okay. So I decided to watch Battle Beyond the Stars, the 1980s sci-fi film, sort of co-directed silently and uncredited by Roger Corman, and he is also an executive producer on the film. Some of the key actors in this, Robert Vaughn. If you watched, I want to say he was in from the Man from U.N.C.L.E., or he was in one of those 60s spy films or spy shows. Maybe I may have that wrong.
The name's
yeah, if you saw a picture of Robert Vaughn, you'd go, "Oh, that guy." George Papard, who so many war films that he was in that I can recall from, but the main thing that people will know him from is the A-Team. He played Hannibal. Sybil Danning. Sybil Danning was kind of that woman actress. She was in Barbarian Queen. She was in a number of films. A very attractive woman, and if you were of a certain age at that point in time, she was one of those women that you're like, oh, she's so pretty. Not the best actress in the world, but easy on the eyes. There's the love interest in the film, Darlene Flugel. I saw, it's been a while since I've seen this movie, but I saw her and I'm like, oh, she was in the first episode of MacGyver.
Wow, what a memory you have.
My son loves MacGyver, and we have like the first, I think we might have the entire series now on DVD. And very young in this film. And Richard Thomas, John Walton, is the lead actor in the film. Now, basically, the thing to note about this film is this is a sci-fi rendition of Seven Samurai, or as we Americans might know, or anybody from the West would know it probably more as The Magnificent Seven. It is a telling of a tale of a farming community and one boy in particular who decides that this tyrant is going to come and lay claim to this entire place, and if these people don't comply, they will all be killed. No questions asked, just done. So Richard Thomas, who plays the lead character in this film, takes it upon himself to go out into the world and find mercenaries to come back and try to save his village. Now, the thing about this is an 80s film, 1980. So, like, the music to me reminded me very much of Star Trek, the motion picture, the first Star Trek film, which was done in 1979. So that music really... It was like people had an idea of what space should sound like, music-wise, or the music sounds very similar in a lot of the films from that time period. If they have some kind of laser or energy weapon, they kind of sound very similar. The designs of the ships have more of an industrial. They're not sleek like they were in like the 60s films or things like that. They're very industrial. You see pipes and you see stuff sticking out of the ship. You see a lot of that in movies from this time period. The set design, very similar. The story writing, very similar. You're not getting the very sleek and very well-rounded scripts that we get today. So some of it is kind of painful. And the makeup, whew, yeah, didn't have a lot of the materials that we do now. So this is very much stepping back into time, to a time when sci-fi films and space operas had gotten a real kick in the pants from Star Wars. And you started to see a resurgence of space operas, which is essentially what this is.
Kind of like what's going on right now.
Exactly. And everything kind of goes in cycles. So it came back around to that. Things to note in this film, there is a big weapon that they have, that the bad guys have, and that is a thing called the solar converter. And basically it's a big gun that it shoots at a planet and just turns it into a sun.
Oh, neat. That's convenient.
It's like the science on that is so dubious. It's not even funny.
Like we said like we said earlier, suspend disbelief. Just go.
Yeah, you really have to go with it on that. But one of the things that was kind of interesting is, especially at that cusp of 60s sci-fi and people trying to set themselves apart from Star Wars, you get interesting devices like this planet that they're trying to save. They're farmers, and they have a device that is a sonic device that basically is a glorified glass xylophone, and they use this thing to dig trenches. So when the fight comes to them, they can do trench warfare, which, wow.
Because that always works so well.
Well, yeah. Again, 80s sort of a trope thing, use of keyboards to fire a gun or a weapon on the ship. There's this scene where this guy's pushing a button on a keyboard. It's like he's playing a game, Yeah. Like he's playing, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a spacefaring game that's pretty current right now. Was it Destiny? You can travel from different planets, things like that.
That's
hot. But the writing, let me tell you, the writing. Lines like, "Does your species have kissing?"
Let me guess. Was that the human asking the female alien, or vice versa?
Well, it was the Darlan Flugel asking Richard Thomas, and she'd been raised on a space station with her father, and he worked on androids. So
this is coming back to me because we watched this for the sci-fi film school a couple of years ago, and it's coming back to me. I do remember that scene. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Also, there is a race of aliens that get pulled into this as mercenaries called the Thermans, and basically they speak not with their mouths, and they don't have ears. They speak through heat. They generate heat, and the varying temperatures that they put out is how they communicate. At this scene where they come back to the agrarian world that they're trying to save, and all the samurai, essentially, quote unquote, are together, and they're hanging out with the aliens. The Thermans are used as a campfire, essentially. They sit back to back. Everybody circles around them to get heat and warmth, and George Peppard is playing his harmonica, and he's an old cowboy from Earth. It's just...
Oh, that's right. He was a cowboy from Earth. That was stupid. That was really stupid.
It was, yeah. So, I mean, it reeks of Roger Corman, really bad. But at that time, that was oh, if you did a space film, boy, God, you needed to have these certain tropes and these things. And I think that they really wanted to give a great deal of acknowledgement to the Magnificent Seven, which is, I think, part of the reason why Robert Vaughn was cast to be in the film, because he was in the Magnificent Seven.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they wanted to put butts in seats and kind of give a proper nod to the source material, or the kind of second generation material that it's drawn from.
I'm wondering if the original story, the Seven Samurais,
Yeah.
I wonder how old that story is, like how ancient that story is, before it was actually made into a movie by the Japanese, or Japanese? That's samurai, right?
Japanese, yeah.
Yeah. If that was like
that was a Kurosawa classic film.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, it was a Kurosawa classic that was modernized and brought to America as the Magnificent Seven during the heyday of the cowboy film. So spaghetti westerns were really huge then, and yeah. So I'm not going to go into the rest of the film, because it's one of those things where if you want a good taste of films, an attempt at a space opera from the early 80s, and you enjoy looking at Sybil Danning, and you want to watch a Corman classic, watch the film. You know, I would give it 2 out of 5 stars.
Okay. That's pretty generous.
It's generous, just more because, again, to me it's like the history of sci-fi. So it was more like an archaeological sort of digging and finding this classic and trying to soak it in for what it was and what it was trying to accomplish for the time period. So,
as I recall, they reused. Corman reused a lot of that footage, not a lot, but some of that footage in another one of his films around that period too.
Yeah, considering how much, I mean, you had to have models built. It's not like they had CG then. So these were actual physical models for these ships, and the cost it would take to make these and to actually film all that, knowing Roger Corman and he's known for making Roger Corman's known for making low-budget sci-fi or whatever type of film that he's trying to tackle. He would try to reuse whatever he could to keep costs down. So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think the modern comparison to the Roger Corman films are films by the Asylum. And that just happens to be my opinion.
There you go.
In the show. It's a movie called Age of Tomorrow. It was released this year, and it could have been released in 1980. Really. The effects are pretty much the same that you would see on a Roger Corman film from that period of the movie that you just mentioned. It's really, really bad. I kind of wish I would have gone with my Avengers animated TV show episode for my pick, but I saw this on Netflix. I'm like, I have to watch it. It's The Asylum. It's Aliens, so we must watch it. So I did, and it's bad. If you know what you're getting into, like I knew I was getting into an Asylum film, it's a lot less pressure. It's take it for what it is, If you're gonna watch who did what's the big movie that just came out in space? He did the Batman movies.
Interstellar.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan.
Going into a Christopher Nolan film, you know what you're in for, right? Or going into any major director, you know what you're in for, or producers, or certain film studios have a certain kind of film, and the Asylum has certain kind of films. They're known for their mockbusters. They'll take a film that's really, really popular and then make a cheaper version of it, a knockoff, if you will, like they did after Pacific Rim came out.
Atlantic Rim.
Atlantic Rim. They had Battle L.A. and Battle Los Angeles. I forget which is which. One of theirs was theirs. So they're known for their mockbusters, and they're known for their cheap films We've talked about this before. I don't know, on this podcast, maybe on one of our other ones, maybe as well. Sharknado, kind of along the same lines as their films. I don't think they're made by the same company, the Asylum. But okay, the basic plot of this is, and this is directly from IMDb, and this is directly from the Asylum wrote this. So get ready for a lot of BS, okay? Mankind must fight to survive as Earth is invaded by hostile UFOs bent on destroying the planet. As the epic battle wages on, astronauts sneak aboard the mothership where they discover a portal to the aliens' homeworld. See, the mothership's actually, to get into more detail on this description, they start getting attacked, basically, by meteorites. Well, I guess they're not really attacked, but you know how a big meteorite or a big asteroid is coming towards the Earth, like in Armageddon, crashing into the atmosphere and causing destruction. They thought that's what it was. They saw this big asteroid coming. They're like, "Hey, let's do the old Armageddon. Let's fire up on a rocket some experts, and we'll blow this sucker apart, and Earth will be safe." Well, they go up there with kind of like the Bruce Willis character, like he was like a hot shot, and he's like, "Oh, I can't do this. I'm out." He's like a former military guy. He's like a fighter pilot. He's like a spaceship pilot, and they bring him back in because they tell him what the odds are, and they're going to give him and his crew $1 million each. So they go up to this, what they think is an asteroid, to blow it apart. Turns out it's an alien spacecraft. They encounter some aliens on board. While they're on board, a bunch of small, like, scout craft take off from this mothership, which is the asteroid, towards Earth. Earth starts getting destroyed. So that's where they discover the portal between their spaceship and their homeworld. So they go to their homeworld, and they manage to alert Earth before they are brutally murdered. So this whole crew is brutally murdered by the aliens on this homeworld, but they get a signal out to Earth that you can go through these portals, and that's where the aliens' homeworld is. So left with no other choice, Earth sends an elite military team of science and combat specialists through the portal where they attempt to stop the invasion from the inside out. And guess who is the major star of this film? Without looking at the show notes, you may have already looked at the show notes, Brad. Robert Picardo from Star Trek Voyager and Stargate Atlantis.
Of course.
I felt so bad for him. I'm like, how the mighty have fallen. What are you doing, man? You were so good on Star Trek Voyager and Stargate Atlantis. You're doing this piece of crap.
You know what? A gig's a gig.
Yeah, I guess.
Guys got to eat. You can't fault them for that.
Okay, now the special effects weren't too bad. There were some things that I had a lot of issues with, like, for example, the actual spaceships that they launched from Earth to attack the aliens, or the one that they originally launched from Earth to destroy the asteroid. It looked like a really, really bad model. And then on board the ship, I guess they had a smaller budget for costumes because the space suits that they wore were basically, you know how diving suits sometimes just have the thing from their chest up? They don't have anything like below that's very protective, just basically a regular suit, like a coveralls. That's basically what they had, and they had really. Apparently, there was no ventilation in these, like the faceplates, because there was all this condensation inside while they were trying to do their lines, and I could just imagine them during the filming of this, like passing out or like gasping for air because there was all this, like there was no place to breathe. Because they kept on like fogging up. You couldn't see their faces. It was so fun. So that's my pick. If you want to waste an hour and a half, do so. Age of Tomorrow. It's available on Netflix, and we'll also have the link to our picks page on galacticnetcast.com through their show notes, and you can buy it through Amazon. And we get a little small percentage of your purchases through the picks page at galacticnetcasts.com. And that's it. Our picks this week were, again, Age of Tomorrow and Battle Beyond the Stars. Oh, real quick, Brad. Who were the bad guys in your film? Like, what kind of aliens race were they?
Well, they were mutants. They're called the more. Dang it all. Hang on. The plot.
Putting the plot on the
Malmori.
Okay. Sounds like a Star Trek race name, doesn't it?
The Malmori. Sounds like a test from Starfleet. The Kobayashi Malmori.
Yeah,
exactly.
Is
that what it is?
Yep. Exactly. All right. So those are our picks.
Did we get feedback this week, Dave?
We did get feedback, and we got it from a big fan of the network. In fact, he's such a big fan that we had him on as a guest on our other podcast. When I say other, we have 3 podcasts that we produce every week. The Sci-Fi Geek Club. Daryl on Google Plus. He was talking about last week's episode, and here's what he said: "Great episode. Craft Corner was particularly interesting." And this is where we were talking about the USOs, unidentified submerged objects. I've heard firsthand tales from a trawler skipper of such things. Fishermen do the most demanding jobs. They don't scare easily, but if you get the chance, then ask them of the weird stuff they see. I remember when Alf, the skipper, approached the actors when I did a sci-fi fish exhibition. I don't know what that means. I guess he was involved in filming some kind of thing. To ask about our view of such things, we honestly thought he was going to rip into us. So surprised when he actually regaled us with hours with strange things at sea and the light that are often seen, the lights that they actually see at sea. They don't often report it for fear of losing their boat. So if you ever get a chance, ask somebody that works on the ocean or at sea what they've seen at night or any time, I guess. I guess they see a lot of things. Interesting.
Well, you consider that the planet is mostly covered with water. They're seeing a lot of the Earth that the rest of us don't. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Daryl. If you want to leave us feedback, you can by emailing galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. You can call our voicemail number and leave a message. 805-328-3966. 805-328-3966. Or do what Daryl did. He follows us on Google+, Twitter, and Facebook, all 3 of those. And once in a while, he will comment on things that we post. For example, we post the latest podcasts, the latest episodes of our podcasts, and you can do that as well. Just follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. Search for Galactic Netcasts or the Alien Invasion, and you will find us on those social platforms. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. Just search for Galactic Netcasts or the Alien Invasion. And we've also got links to where you can subscribe to us at galacticnetcasts.com. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Alien Invasion from galacticnetcast.com. Final thought, Brad, what do you got?
I really want to not do the next show and run to Walmart and get my copy of Guardians of the Galaxy. But I'm not going to do it because...
Thanks for taking one for the team. I appreciate that. Plus, you got some other stuff to watch. You got to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. yet? Did you watch The Flash from last night?
No, I have not. Wednesday and Thursday nights are the nights to catch up on stuff that I've missed. So Ness and I will probably be watching some stuff if she's feeling up to it after we record the next show.
Yeah, those shows are so good. I always watch them live. I always make sure I can watch them live. So.
Yeah, I wish Tuesday nights. Check your local listings. That's when That's when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is on, and The Flash. So that's Tuesday nights are my nights with my son. So I am not near a television.
Ah, okay. All right.
So I have to do what the kids are calling time shifting. I have to watch it at a different time through the Hulu.
Not just what the kids are doing these days, Brad. It's a lot of people are doing it that way, so you're not alone. They're actually launching a new service in Canada here called Crave TV. It's part of Bell. That's our cable from Bell. We get our cable, internet, and phone from Bell, not to be confused with the old Ma Bell from the States, different company.
Sure.
But they're actually launching a Netflix-type service for $4 a month, and you get to get all unlimited TV shows, like old TV shows like Cheers. They're going to have all Star Trek series on there. It's like a streaming service. You'll actually get deep Netflix. You can get Deep Space Nine. They're going to have Battlestar Galactica on this service, and we are probably going to get it, and I'm going to be a happy camper when we do. Looking forward. All right, that's going to do it again for this edition of the Alien Invasion. Until next time, Brad, we will talk to you later.
Sounds good, Dave. Bye.
Bye.